Hey, my name is Jeff Quesenberry. I'm 65 years old, coming up here very soon. I'm from a little town in West Virginia um, called Beckley. It was a middle class neighborhood. I played football, I wrestled, ran track, was into sports. I had three older brothers. Um, Lost my father when I was 14. That kind of hit me hard. But yeah, most of my drug and alcohol abuse and use pretty much sorted from just peer pressure. Everybody that I grew up with and hung out with up there in a little small town, little football town in West Virginia, everybody drank beers, smoked weed, and then the other drugs came on the scene, mostly pills and stuff. But after my father died when I was 14, my mom brought me and my three brothers actually, down to Sarasota, Florida. And we moved out to a little Siesta Key Beach, which is off the mainland of Sarasota. And there I became a beach boy and, hung out. And I went to vocational school in Sarasota. I got a welding degree. And but once we moved to Florida, the drinking and the drugging escalated to an extreme, of course. And that was in 78, 79. After I completed vocational school, I worked construction for a while and ended up getting, pretty strung out on drugs, even at around 19, 20, 21 years old. That was back when the cocaine hit, the cocaine cowboys in the late 70s, early 80s. And I got into running drugs up the eastern seaboard at a young age, about 20, 21. And we were, like I say, running drugs up the whole eastern seaboard. We were getting them getting kilos in Homestead, Florida, and we ended up taking them up to New York City. I did that for quite some time. And until, eventually I got into a lot of trouble in that lifestyle right there, of course. And ended up getting into a lot of skirmishes, gunfights over drugs. That led me into basically the life of crime that I ended up getting into heavy. Caught in early 80s, caught a few robbery charges. Caught some dealing stolen property charges, basically just to support my drug habits. And it escalated from there. Ended up catching possession, sales, distribution charges. Ended up getting on heroin when I was about 22. I got addicted to heroin, was going to Fort Myers and getting bundles of heroin every week. And that escalated. Then I started speedballing cocaine and heroin. Intravenously, injected a lot of drugs into my system. From there, I was in and out of prison and jail, of course, the whole time. I did 3 1129s in the county jail in Sarasota and Manatee counties. And then I did my first prison sentence in 83. I ended up catching a robbery charge, trying to get money for drugs. And ended up doing 5 years in prison. They were giving out a lot of game time back then, so I only did like 3 years on 5. So I got out of there. I would do good for a while, and I'd stay clean. I'd try to move around, try to change my environment, lifestyle. It only lasted for, I think the longest I was ever clean and sober was for a year. And it always came back. I fell back into the same lifestyle with the drugs and alcohol. And I have an addictive personality, and it got out of control quick. On everything I did, it was just enough was never enough. So over the course of from about 85, in and out of jail and prison, I went back to prison at about 87, and I got out in 91. I think it was some drug charges, possession, dealing stolen properties. And then in 92, I ended up catching another 5-year prison sentence, and I got out in about 94. And then in 94, I caught 2 counts of second-degree attempted murder on a police officer with fire. The state wanted a life sentence. They demanded a life sentence. I went through 2 years of the county jail waiting to go to a jury trial. Took it to jury trial and lost. They convicted me of 1 count of second-degree attempted murder on a police officer with a firearm. The judge, after a bunch of sentencing hearings, 3-4 months of sentencing hearings, I had my family and everything come up there and begged for mercy. And I guess the judge had mercy on me. Instead of a natural life sentence, he gave me 40 years as a habitual felony, a violent offender. So I went to state prison in 1994. And I went to Charlotte, Martin, Hardy, and about 12 other prisons in the state of Florida. Well, all of them were the worst prisons because of my violent habitual offender act. So I was always in the worst prisons. And so I fought my way through 25 years of prison. And I made it out in 2019, October of 2019. And the whole time, there was a few times when I was in prison doing this 25-year stint that I reached out to God, and I tried to figure out what I was doing wrong, and I never could figure it out because I really didn't have, I wasn't abused as a child. I'd really had a good childhood. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, played football, ran track, wrestled. I felt like I grew up in a normal society. My mom and dad, they weren't alcoholics or drug addicts, no kind of abuse, anything like that. And of course, I'm leaving quite a bit out. I'm trying to break this down. But during that 25 years in the Florida State prison system, I did a lot of soul searching. I turned to the Lord on several occasions. When my mother passed away in 2000, of course, that was a big blow. I wasn't able to go to her funeral, wasn't able to say goodbye. And that kind of pushed me over the edge. And even though I never got involved in any of the gangs or stuff, they tried to recruit me on many occasions. I was pretty much a loner in prison, and it's what got me through. But in all, once I look back at it, I know why I made it through that, and that was that God was looking out for me the whole time. I've totaled 5 automobiles where you look at them, you say, there's no way nobody walked out of that. And he's been looking over my shoulder for my whole life. And just recently, over the last year, as I was fixing to take my life before I came to Chrome, the day before I came to Chrome, I was fixing to take my life. I grabbed it, and I was going to dump it on last alcoholic beverage. And someone told me to pick up the phone and call my sister-in-law. She picked it up. I come to the point to where I just completely submitted. I knew that I was at the end, and I completely surrendered, and I submitted my life and my soul to Jesus Christ. And I know now, like I've never known before, that that's the only thing that saved me and that's got me to this point right here.
Yeah, and another thing, a most important thing is that if there's anybody out there struggling, man, with some of the issues and problems that life throws at you like they did at me, I know they keep coming, man, and I know it hurts and I know it's hard. But take it from me, man, this is a great place, it's a great starting point, and it's all about Jesus, brother.